So you remember? So they're messing with the caucuses again.
Watch your mouth.
Okay, so now the caucuses favored progressives. They favored all the caucus states favored Bernie in 2016. Las Vegas, Nevada's a caucus state. I went there, and I want to remind people the chaos that was in the system. Right, we're in Las Vegas covering the Democratic caucus at the Paris Hotel.
So there doesn't really seem to be any process to this. There doesn't seem to be any kind of organization. I know they do it every 4 years, but it looks like they do it every 40 years.
That's the chairman of the caucus right there. That's how they count to see who's that's literally how they do it. Anybody can just count. Any jackass could get up and count. But how do you know you did it right?
He's got some stuff written down on his hand. That's how official this is. You see him? He's copying it off of his hand right now. If you notice, that's what's happening. It's hilarious. Very old school. This is democracy from the 1860s. Here we go. This is before calculators even.
Ladies and gentlemen, as of today's caucus results, Senator Sanders has gained 7 delegates. Secretary Clinton has, 6 delegates. Secretary Clinton has gained 13 delegates.
So he just made the call. 13 delegates going to Hillary Clinton, 6 delegates going to Bernie Sanders. Working people vote against their own interests once again. Isn't that fantastic? And now they're going to vote against their own interests in Spanish.
We all thought it was over until we realized the chairman of the caucus made 2 huge mistakes. One, he forgot to nominate the delegates that would go to the state convention, and 2, he let people caucus who weren't registered, and they were starting to register after the caucus. Here he is freaking out when he realizes the mistakes.
He's screaming, damn it, because he forgot to tell him, and it's going to be screwed up.
Please don't leave.
Now he's
Please don't leave.
This guy's a brilliant sketch actor.
Lots of people have already left. You see how organized it is. Shit's falling out of his hand left and right. He's running around like a maniac, yelling into a microphone.
For those of you who are still here, please don't leave. We need, and this is my error, we did not select who the delegates would be. So if your caucus wants to nominate you as a delegate, please let me know, and I have the form for you to fill out.
This is amazing that he didn't tell the people to nominate their delegates. People started leaving, and he didn't tell them to stop until after a lot of them had already left, and he saw it. This is kind of crazy. I could totally see how these results could be easily invalidated by lots of people. Show the room left. This is what's left of the room. There was a full room. They're supposed to select delegates, and he forgot to tell them. So now there's no delegates selected, and everyone's gone. And I just wanted, just a side note, from start to finish, the worst communication by a group leader I've ever seen in my life. Could not believe how poorly all the instructions were communicated, what was going on was being communicated to the people.
Who'd have thought that the guy who wrote the results of the caucus down on his hand would also screw up the entire event?
This is my error. This is my error.
Wow.
So that was us. That was us at the Paris caucus at the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas, and you see that chaos always favors the establishment. Just so you know. So now Iowa and Nevada are launching a caucus voting by phone.
Great.
For 2020. What could go wrong? They're going to vote by phone. Democrats in the early presidential contest states of Iowa and Nevada will be able to cast their votes over the telephone instead of showing up at their state's traditional neighborhood caucus meetings next February, according to plans unveiled by the state parties. The telecaucus system, the results of a mandate from the Democratic National Committee,
are aimed at opening the local level political gatherings to more people, especially evening shift workers and people with disabilities, whom critics of the caucuses have long said are blocked from the process. Now, when I was there also, I was also in Des Moines last year, and for the caucus, and while I was having my country club omelet at the Perkins, I asked the waitress, who you going to caucus for? And she said, I can't caucus after work. And I'm like, what kind of a system is that? That's kind of a weird system. Now, even though the caucuses favor Bernie Sanders, caucuses favor progressives, I then said, I got to be against this system. So they did get rid of a lot of the caucuses. They did, because it favors the establishment to get rid of them. Primaries are better. Will you vote in a primary instead of a caucus? That favors the establishment. And progressives are favored by caucuses. So that's why they're doing this, because Bernie Sanders does very well in caucuses. So now they're trying to make it easier for Hillary Clinton voters or establishment voters to vote in these caucuses. So I have to be for it in principle, because you can't have democracy be, hey, whoever can show up this night from this time. That's not democracy. That's like, no, what if I'm sick? Or what if I have to work? Or what if my kid got sick? Or whatever. What if my car broke down on the way there? It's the middle of winter. There's a million things so you shouldn't be disenfranchised. Your vote shouldn't be taken away. So there's a little bit more to this article, and then we'll talk about it with our panel. While rolling out a new voting system holds the promise of more voter participation, it also comes with potential risk for confusion or technical troubles. In 2016, backers of Senator Bernie Sanders cried foul over the Iowa results when Clinton won a razor-thin margin, 49.9% to 49.6%, despite some irregularities in reporting results. The dispute, replicated in part in Nevada, was a key factor in the push from groups on the left to overhaul the nominating process heading into 2020. The DNC's mandate has been a challenge for party operatives who sought to maintain security while also maintaining the spirit of the caucuses. And what is the point of the caucuses which are chiefly local party building activities. So a caucus was a way that a party decided to do their primary, and they did it in a way that would help build the party. That's why caucuses exist, so the spirit of caucuses, which are chiefly local party building activities aimed at electing delegates to party conventions. So that's really the purpose of a caucus. Although they do nominate, there's the chief purpose of it is to build local parties. Officials say by avoiding an internet-based so when people go, why don't you just do it over the internet? And they say, well, that it's too it's too likely that it could be hacked, that they're too susceptible to internet hacking, and so they decided to do it with phone calls. Well, of course, that could also be manipulated. Both state parties plan to require Democratic voters they have to register online in advance of their virtual caucus, verifying their identity with the multi-factor authentication. Voters will receive a PIN that they have to enter when they call in to participate. All this can be easily manipulated, I'm sure. All this stuff could be easily manipulated. Iowans who register on time will have 6 times to choose to participate by phone, including the in-person caucus. So I guess there'll be 6 different time frames when they can call in by phone and vote. Nevadans who register for the virtual caucus can participate on February 16th or 17th. Unlike Iowa, Nevada is also offering 4 days of in-person early caucusing to give people more options. So, again, even though caucuses favor the progressives, if I'm going to be, consistent and fair, I would have to say caucuses are not a good way to do a primary because too many people get disenfranchised, meaning they don't get to show up and vote. So I said this before, and I'm being consistent to say it again, but let me throw it to my panel. What do you think of this?
Ron.
I mean, you talk about easy to manipulate. I mean, I have a lot of concerns about phone voting. Like, I have a lot of
me
concerns
too.
about how safe that would be. And then, in the article where they said, well, online voting would be too easy to manipulate. Like, well, so are our voting machines.
Yes.
I mean, they
right?
ran that thing where, like, those 10-year-olds broke in a couple minutes and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's one of those things. And yeah, there's pros and cons to all systems. There's pros to caucuses, cons to caucuses. And voter suppression, yeah, right? I just realized that as it came out of my mouth. So,
Pro
but yeah, I think
caucuses, con caucuses.
pro caucuses, con caucuses,
Michael
Con Air caucuses.
Con Air caucus.
Those are my favorite.
Kooky caucuses.
There's kooky caucuses all across the
Right,
country.
there's Governor
Say that
Dick-
5 times fast.
Kooky caucus. How about the governor to caucus?
No, I mean, we gotta do paper ballots until we have something better.
Does anybody else-
And even that is ridiculous because look what happened in Florida
With the
where they
hanging
had that
chads.
footage of people driving around in vans with voter
with ballots?
Yeah, with ballots.
I think it sounds so weird that the future is paper ballots.
right. But right now, it's like that's the best we got. I mean, until we have something better, like.
Well,
I think that's the
I'd
best we
rather
got.
just have white farm owners make the call for president. That would be the way to go, right?
Wait, yeah. Well, landowners.
Yeah, white.
That's who should be voting.
I mean, make it so much renters forget it,
I can't believe renters get to vote.
right?
Right?
Have you ever thought
Come
about that?
on.
I think about that when I'm in line. I'm like, it's not fair I get to do this. I really shouldn't be doing this right now.
Okay, so
Well, can I say, Lisa Mojica, she mentioned Dolores Huerta and Harry Reid somehow helped with voter intimidation of casino workers. They let them caucus where they work.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
so even if they don't live in the district where they work, they can caucus in that district.
right. But that's just that's a fraction of the population there.
You are correct.
And so, who does the caucus really? What is the Republicans don't caucus? So why Democrats do this? What is the end result that we don't really get a pick? I don't understand what caucusing is. Gentlemen?
Well, I did it in Washington State, and it's basically
Whoa.
like, yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a party, and everybody got laid. No, it's like, you gather. Well, you gather and you kind of like somebody speaks for whichever candidate they like best. So I did it in 08 in Washington State because I lived there at the time. Somebody spoke for Obama, then somebody spoke for Clinton, and then somebody spoke for Kucinich, and then me and 2 other people befriended that person, and then everybody casted their vote. And then you just like the person that gets the majority kind of takes it, and that's essentially the process. So what's interesting is that you get to hear about different candidates from people in your community, so it is sort of like a communal thing, but the other thing is, it also can leave some people out. What if you can't make it that day? What if something happens? So
Right.
it's essentially what it is.
I don't understand. Yes, I get the process. It just doesn't seem that it's going to ultimately serve the people. In theory, maybe in a smaller community, but now with larger populations, I just don't see the usefulness of it. It seems confusing.
Well, it's the same thing that happens on election days, where it's like people can't get to the polls, they can't go, like they're working a shift or whatever. I mean, it's
And then people will say, well, they could have mailed it in.
right. Yeah.
Hey, we just added St. Louis and Honolulu to our live tour schedule. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all our live shows. We might be coming to your town. Go check right now at jimmydorecomedy.com. And if you like the show and want to support it, become a premium member. You can become a patron or through PayPal, or go right to jimmydorecomedy.com and become a premium member. That's the best way. We'll see you at a live show.